stuck somewhere.
Exactly. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, we're ready to get started. Welcome to the last session of Listing Mastery. This is part 4 of 4. I'm going to close my door here so I don't disturb everyone. All right, and we're going to get off and running. First, a couple of housekeeping items, everyone. Number one, I wanted to let everyone know that next month in August, we are going to be bringing back Quantum Leap, okay? We're going to be doing 3 sessions, August 13th, August 20th, and August 27th, I think it is. It's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Thursdays. We are off for the next 2 weeks. We will not have a Zoom class next week, the 30th, and we will not have a Zoom class the following Thursday, the 6th. We will be resuming on August 13th. Last time when I taught Quantum Leap, we tried to squeeze it into one session for those of you who were there in the training room in Encino, and it's a lot of material to try to do in one session. It's just too much because it's all about your mind and managing your mind and getting the right mindset and being in the right zone so that you can produce income, so that you can produce abundance, so you can produce results, right? And that takes a lot of work. And having been teaching this for about 26 years, I don't feel I could do it in one session. And I would do a disservice to all of you. So we're going to break it into 3 sessions, Quantum Leap, Mindset Matters. And it'll give you some really great tricks to keep your mindset in the right place so that you are succeeding at a high level. So I'll look forward to seeing you all on August 13th for that session. All right, we're kicking off today, the end of Listing Mastery. We're going to actually open up today and have an interactive discussion after I do a quick review of the listing presentation and the net sheet. We are going to open up and have a dialogue here for everyone. Now, in your Google Drive link, I have added the seller's net sheet example. It's also in the chat box here, for those of you who want to look into the chat box and grab it. It is a PDF of what you can create in your zip forms. And again, it's also on the Google Drive under the Seller Mastery link. So I did want to begin with that since that's where we left off last week and have a conversation about making sure that you either have a comfort level or you don't and what your questions might be surrounding the net sheet, okay? So let's begin with the recap of we don't really whip this out until we've kind of agreed on price. So we have to go through that 3-point pricing, see where the seller is at, overcome the objections if the seller is too high, and then come to a conclusion. Now, again, when you have a logical and reasonable seller who's picking the middle number or the low number, it's very easy to take this out next. If you've got a seller who's going to the high number or even higher, then you have to have an entire conversation to overcome those objections and then either concede to their price point or not. Most of the time, you're going to end up conceding to their price point because, again, they are an emotional seller. They're coming from regret, pride, or fear, and so you have to overcome those issues. So if they're going to be at the high range, remember what I said last week, show them the middle net sheet, right? You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, listen, I am going to do a great job for you. We will list your home at $650,000, but I do have to show you what the net looks like at the fair market value. And then you whip out the net sheet, the middle number, right? And based on our conversation last week, this property on Wilbur Avenue in Reseda, we came up with $610,000 as our middle number. So that's the net sheet I'm going to pull out. Okay, is 610,000, and I'm going to go over those numbers. And so I wanted to make sure I recorded it last week, and it's on our channel, YouTube channel, so you can grab it. But I have this sample because I want every one of you to be able to go into your zip forms templates. In your listing template, you're going to go fill these numbers in exactly like you see them on mine. Okay, and then you're going to hit save. right? So that you have those, so that every time you open a new transaction in zip forms and you put the new name and you do your cover sheet and everything loads in, this net sheet will load in with the new name of the new seller, right? So all you have to do is make sure it's in your templates and that you have your templates auto loading. And as soon as you do a new transaction on another property with another seller, this will load in. And all you will have to do is change the sales price up here and change the $2 per thousand on title and escrow. Okay. And then of course, if you want to adjust that repair money, right? If you're taking a much higher price listing, you're going to want to up that repair money. And of course, if you're not selling in the city of LA, you're going to want to remove the 9A and you're going to want to remove the city transfer tax. Again, if you're not selling in the city of LA, you're going to remove the 9A cost and you're going to remove the $4.50, okay, per thousand. Can everybody here see the chat box and the net sheet? If you can't, unmute yourself. Can everybody see the net sheet in the chat box? Have you dragged it onto your desktop? Okay, make sure you have it. All right, so
I can't see
what
it.
is not city of LA?
I can't see it.
What is not city of LA? Anybody want to volunteer some cities? You can just unmute yourself.
Burbank,
Pasadena,
Long Beach,
Burbank,
Long
Glendale.
Beach,
Calabasas.
okay, good. All
Santa
of the above.
Clarita.
Pasadena.
Right, good. All right, so good job. You guys do know that. So you use your little map and you use your school district, right? Anything that's LA unified, is city of LA, okay? That includes Santa Monica, that includes all of West Side. And remember, it stops, city of LA, taxes stops the minute you cross over Venice, I believe, and get into maybe Marina Del Rey. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure Marina Del Rey is still city of LA. So I think it's Manhattan Beach. So Manhattan Beach will start out of the city of LA because it's considered South Bay. And as soon as you get to Burbank, you no longer have city of LA. But remember, Sunland, Tahunga are city of LA, right? La Crescenta and La Cañada are not. So again, make sure you've got that. And then on the west end, as soon as you hit Calabasas, you're no longer city of LA, right? It's Las Virgenes. So, and then of course, as soon as you get out of Porter Ranch and you're in Santa Clarita, you are no longer city of LA, right? Stevenson Ranch, Valencia, you're no longer city of LA. And so if you kind of keep those borders, it'll help you a lot to identify, in Long Beach South and Long Beach East. All right, good. So this is really important, guys. So please make sure you use it. If you want to continue to use the escrow ones, that's totally fine. If you feel more comfortable using a net sheet from escrow, that's wonderful. Just make sure the data is all in there, because whatever you produce, it has to come out with this stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be missing things. All right, one more comment here. Remember what I said 2 sessions ago about property taxes. Over on the right-hand side of the net sheet, it talks about paying off the prorated property taxes. You are not going to do that on your net sheet. And typically your escrow officer will not give you one either, usually with the prorations. The reason for that, we just don't know what time of year we're going to be selling, and we don't know if the seller has their mortgage impounded, right? So we don't want to play with taxes. All we say to them is, if you're taking a listing anytime between May and September, you don't really have to have the conversation. If you are taking a listing anytime between October and April, it's going to be a conversation. October and March, it's going to be a conversation, because that's when the taxes are due. If somebody has their mortgage including their taxes, you don't have to worry about it, right? They're just going to get a refund. If somebody pays their taxes themselves every year, then you do at least want to have a conversation if you're taking a listing in October, right? You're going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you pay your taxes yourself or are they included in your mortgage? No, we pay them ourselves. You would just let them know. In addition to this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the escrow officer will most likely be collecting your first installment. If we close before Christmas, they're going to collect your first installment of taxes on here. So that will be another deduction that isn't reflected here. Super important, okay, guys? If it's already paid by their bank, it's already been paid in advance. They don't got to worry about it. They'll get a refund on their escrow when the house is paid off. So when the mortgage is paid off, whatever is left in the impound account will come back to them. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so if you have your taxes and insurance included in your mortgage, you don't got to worry about the property taxes. You don't have to worry about the property taxes. Excuse me for my grammar there. So I want to be very, very clear. All right, so great net sheet, very accurate. If you want to take this and have escrow make one for you, doesn't matter. If you're going to use it yourself, great. Just use it as a tool. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick review and then we're going to open this up for interactive dialogue today. All right, so let's start from the top. I'm not going to do the whole listing presentation. We're just going to block it out. And when you practice on your own, you want to be in these blocks, right? So you arrive at the property, you introduce yourself, you ask where you can put your stuff, you allow them to give you a fabulous tour of the property based on their disc profile. And if any of you haven't taken your disc yet, there is a link on one of the sheets in the Google Drive where you can take your disc. And if you want to have your disc analyzed, just give me a call. I'll be happy to analyze your disc for you. Many of you have already done that. So based on their personality, you're going to interact with them. You're going to build rapport during the tour, which takes about 15 minutes, unless it is an extremely large home. And then you will ask them where's an appropriate place for you to sit. And then you will sit down. You will thank them for inviting you over to their beautiful home or property. And you will tell them you have a lot of great information to share with them about their home today. And then you start with your listing book, right? Your awesome book. And you introduce yourself. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself, right? Before we get to the numbers, first, let me tell you a little bit about myself and what I do to get top dollar for my clients. You do a little intro on yourself, how many years you've been in the business. If you're newer, you just say you've been a professional for X number of years, and you've lived in the Valley or wherever for so many years, and that you pride yourself on X, Y, and Z, right? Then you talk about your company. Let me tell you a little bit about my company. Keller Williams Realty is the largest real estate company in the world with more than 800 offices in the United States and Canada. We have the largest network of relocation agents sending their clients to this neighborhood, this area. We are also worldwide. We're in over 40 countries, and we have more relocation clients coming into this area than any other company. And then we are the most awarded company in real estate. We have more industry awards than any company. Do you have any questions about me or my company? Great. Let me tell you about my marketing strategy to get top dollar for your home. And then you kind of go through that one piece at a time, right? And if you're practicing, you're not on one page more than about 8 seconds, maybe, even if you're talking slowly, because you're basically maybe 10 seconds if it's something more intricate, but you basically want to be careful not to spill too much and start talking and then getting lost in the process. So be careful. I have a time limit max of 15 seconds per slide. Okay. So practice it and see how you're doing. Again, you don't want to ramble, but you also want to be able to not be stuck on a slide for too long, right? So make sure you're going through it in a smooth way. And at the end of that, you'll ask them, do you have any questions about my marketing strategy? Great. Now let's move on to my pricing strategy. And then you do that third component, right? Which is, let me talk to you about how important it is to price your home attractively to attract the most buyers and to get the most potential for offers. And then when you get into that point, you will show them the little triangle, and you'll show them when you price your home attractively, you will garner more than 90% of the available buyers. However, if you price your home even 10% high, you're going to knock out more than 60% of the buyers that will never see your home. Then you talk about pricing ahead of the market. And if you price ahead of the market, you're going to get your list price or more. But if you don't, you're going to end up chasing the market down and not getting the price you would have gotten if you had just priced it accordingly to begin with. And last but not least, You talk about how the people that got the most money for their home did so in the first 2 weeks on market, because that's when all of the major activity is happening. So it's really important that we put all of our power in those first 2 weeks and that we're priced right. Do you have any questions about my pricing strategy? No? Great. Now let's take a look at the numbers on your home. And then you transition over to your Cloud CMA or Dash CMA. Okay, and then you begin by telling them how you're arriving at value, that you use the same processes that the appraisers use, and then you give them a map of the properties that are similar to theirs in square footage, and you go through them one at a time, telling the story about the price that it was, the address, the price that it was, how long it stood on the market, etc., and whether it was larger or smaller. This home on this street, similar to yours, larger than yours, slightly smaller than yours, right? Sold for X dollars in this amount of time. So the address, you don't have to read the whole address, just say this home on Runnymede, similar to yours, it's almost the same size, sold for X dollars in X amount of days. And then you go through those beautiful photos and you give them some sort of comparison to their home. And you go one comp at a time. The photos tell the picture. They're going to be looking at the photos. So use your pen to point out the photos as you're going through them. And then keep flipping and then do the pendings at the back. So solds first, then the pendings, and talk about a story about the pendings. And then if you're bringing actives with you, have those, and you can talk about the actives. And again, please use the actives only if they serve you. And then at the end of that information, when you've gone through all of those comps, you go to your quick CMA or your CMA stats report, right? That's going to get inserted. And you will do a review with them of the median pricing point. You can see the median here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And then you flip to, based on this information that I shared with you, I have 3 options for you to consider, okay? And then you do your event pricing, your fair market pricing, and your out of market. Remember, your event pricing talks about multiple offers. This would most assuredly get us multiple offers and have backup offers, and most assuredly would go over limit. This is our fair market where the appraisal should come in at, and this is out of market. We don't have any data, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, to see that your home would sell for this price. Based on these 3 options that I've presented, which one do you think lines up most with what you thought your home was worth? Let them speak, let them talk, do your objection handle, and then once you've arrived at price and agreed, then you talk about net sheet, right? And then once you do that, you objection handle this if you need to, right? On both the listing, on the listing side, commission, and on the repairs, which are the only 2 places they can go to. And then you wrap that up. You have that conversation. We talked about that last week, right? If they're not going to make the repairs, it'll go back to their bottom line. It'll be up to the buyer whether the buyer stays in the deal. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but we just wanted to budget that money because this is the most likely scenario of what you may spend on repairs or credits. Then you go through that whole thing, right? And now that you're done with that, you say, I've brought some paperwork with me today to get started. And then you move to, I'd love you to take a look at your calendar out in the future and pick a date that would be good for you, right? So give them back that power again there, open up a calendar. And remember, we're gonna have one of 3 things, right, that they're gonna say now when I try to close. Anybody wanna unmute themselves and remind us of what are the 3 possible reactions when I say, I brought the paperwork with me to get started if you'd like, and let's take our calendar out and take a look at date in the future. What would they say? What are one of the 3 things they wanna say to you?
Have to think about
Commission.
Have to think about it, right? High C, SC. What else?
Is there anything we could do on the commission piece?
No, we already did that.
Yeah.
We already did that. So we already addressed that. We came to conclusion, right? So remember, we have to objection handle.
My child is still in school, I believe was one of them.
Okay, okay, great. So what I did is I gave them power, right, Harry? I said, okay, let's take a look at the calendar. When do the kids get out of school, right? And then what would be comfortable? How many weeks do you need after they get out of school for you to have the house ready? You've got to give them power and control here. So they'll either, that's a listing, that's not an objection. So I'll think about it means either they really do need to think about it because they don't make rash decisions, they're a high C, or they're actually interviewing other people, right? Which is unlikely, but could be. They throw out a date to you in the form of, our anniversary is August 10th, so we're going to be gone that weekend, right? That's their way of saying, okay, it has to be after that weekend. Great, let's take a look at when you guys come back. So you're going to jump right back in and counter object and say, great. So that's not a no, that's just they're trying to lay a groundwork for you of when they're going to be available. That's a good thing. So once you then get out to that calendar and pick a date, now we're able to start the listing paperwork, okay? And then the third and final thing they could do is what?
I'm
They want
still
to think about it.
agents.
Go ahead.
I'm still interviewing some realtors, so I'll just have to get back to you on that.
Well, that's great. What would be a good time, Julie, that I can call you in the next few days?
Well, let's talk in a couple weeks.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I truly appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to the possibility of serving you.
Great.
All right. All right. So remember, always close properly, right? Always close properly. So they're either going to think about it, they're going to be honest with you and tell you they're interviewing other people. They're going to tell you what dates they can't do yet. And then you're then going to jump to the next available date that's comfortable for them. Or they'll say, great, it sounds good, let's do it, right? And you know, each of those answers, other than the I'm going to be interviewing other agents, do you remember what percentage of the time that'll happen to you? Remember, based on our statistics?
3?
Yeah, really low. Thanks, Christine. Maybe under 5%, under 3% of the time they'll say that. Remember, we said 70% of people only choose one agent on the appointment, right? So that's very rare that they'll say that, but they may. And then let me think about it. How often do you think you'll hear that? What percentage of the time? Anybody?
30, 35?
A little lower, about 20% of the time, because it matches to the profile. So if only 14% of the US population leads with a super high C, and there's going to be somewhere around 20% of those people that are going to want to think about it. Doesn't mean they're not going to use you. It just means that they have to digest the information. They can't take all this information that they've just gotten from you, and they need to digest it and they need to process it. So what do we do to them? We say, great, totally understand. When would be a good time for me to give you a call? Right? You've got to close again for that next appointment. So don't just let it go. We need to think about it, completely understand. If you have any questions, please give me a call. When would you like me to follow up with you? And then make sure you get that. And then you'll follow up with them at that point. Okay?
Veronica?
Then say, okay, well, it sounds great. So yeah, let's do it. And so that's why you always lead with a calendar. It's a great way to close, right? I brought the paperwork with me to get started. Let's take a look. I'd like you to take a look at your calendar, out in the future, and see what a future date would work. When you do that, you're closing. What kind of close is that I just did? I brought the paperwork with me to get started. Let's take a look at the calendar and see what works for you out in the future. What kind of close is that? What kind of sales
A
close?
hard close?
It's called an assumptive close, yes.
Assumptive close.
You say hard, yeah. It's assumptive, right? You're closing, making the assumption that they're going forward with you. You're not asking them whether they're going to use you. You're making an assumption. Assumptive closes are used by some of the strongest agents, and they work really well. And the way I did it was extremely professional, right? I said, I brought some paperwork with me to get started. I was wondering if you could open up your calendars and let's take a look at a date in the future that works for you. So I'm giving them a command, right? So if they don't like that command, they'll push me back, right? They'll push me back with, I've got to think about it. We're interviewing other agents. They're going to push me back if they're not ready to be closed at that moment, all right? I gave them two options. I said, I brought things with me and let's look at the calendar. So if you're logical and reasonable and you're actually really going to sell your house this year, even if it's after the kids go back to school, you're going to pull out your calendar and you're going to be decisive. And that seller is going to go into the month that they're ready to go on market. I'm all about giving them that power of when they want to go on market, even though we're going to sign the listing agreement today, right? Right, with the future date on the top, with this date of the start date up here. So anybody have any questions about that close? It's so important that you go in for assumptive close. Now, does anybody use a different kind of close that they would like to share with the group that works for them? Anybody? You can unmute yourself if you use a different kind of close. I don't think I got anybody there. Anybody? No? Okay, great. All right, well, assumptive closes are very powerful and they work really well. So what I want to do now is I want to open up this discussion so that you feel like you've got the information to be powerful, to be confident, to go on that listing appointment in a way that you will get it every time. I want to start by saying that if you think you're going to do this and wing it, think again. You are not going to wing it. I've been on thousands of listing appointments in my career. I've lost a few, but thousands, and I will never wing it to this day, Just like when I'm in zip forms, tens of thousands of times in zip forms, I will never go fast. I will always write my offers really slowly or do my paperwork very slowly when I'm filling out a listing, because this is a litigious business, right? This is a business where you have to be on, you have to be professional, you have to say the right things, and you have to have your documents in order. So please don't ever go on a listing appointment cold. It's not a good idea. I'm always practice, even if it's for 15 minutes. And there are two parts to this, right? There's the part that you'll have nailed, which is the actual listing presentation, right? This 10 minutes here. This is really important that you memorize this, and you need to memorize it in your language. So I wanted to make this point very clear. You heard my recording last week and the week before. This has to be your articulation, your languaging. I gave you an outline of an appropriate way to flow and a suggested way to maybe talk about things. I would much rather you take that outline and that flow and script yourself out, your own script in your words. And what I've seen a lot of agents do, which is so sharp, is they'll take like a master and they'll actually handwrite, or I've seen people type and tape their words that they would put on each page. I love that. I think that's brilliant. So you can actually type out your little blob and you tape it into your book, and that becomes your master script book, so that you're memorizing and going through it. And I'll tell you, it'll make you so much stronger, and you will be able to really project the confidence and the abilities that that seller is looking for. Because top agents have their script internalized. They're not looking at the pages. So if you can work on that this year, that needs to be a priority for you, to memorize in your words your listing presentation. Now, the CMA, the front and the back of the CMA are also scripted, are they not? You talk about how you arrive at value. You talk about the map. You talk about the 3-point pricing and what that means. But in the middle are all these new comps. Every single time there's new comps. That's the point where you really have to spend some time. So even if you have this memorized to a T and you sound amazing, and you have the opening and the closing of your cloud CMA and it sounds amazing, and you have the conversion to the paperwork and it sounds amazing, you still have to memorize the story of the comps that you're bringing for this home. Is everybody clear? That part's brand new, right? Those are new lines for your script this time. So when you finish the comps and you get them in the order low to high, sold, and then pending, and then if you're using active, now you have to script that. You have to memorize and script that story. There's nothing worse than fumbling through the comps and not knowing what you're going to say about the comps. I've had it happen to me. You know, I go on 3 listing appointments in a day and I'm rushing, and in the afternoon I'm looking at the comps at the last minute. That's not a good position to be in. Now you have to kind of wing it. You don't want to do that. If you're only going on a listing appointment once a week, you got plenty of time to memorize your comps and memorize the story, all right? So it's really, really important that you do that. And when you do that, you go in, you're confident, you sound awesome. You've internalized your script to the point where it completely sounds like you, right? Did you think I was scripted when I was talking? You know, you have to sound like yourself. You can't sound like me or anyone else. You need to sound like you. right? You're unique. You're special. You've got a great value proposition, and you need to make it sound like you. And you need to modify your tone, your speed, right, to the disc profile that you're speaking to. You know, if you're speaking to a high C, I'm a super high D, and I'm talking to a high C, I have to purposefully slow down, or they're going to get really pissed off and they're going to tell me to slow down, right? If I'm talking to a super high D, we're talking over each other, right? Because they want to interrupt, and I have to stop, step back, let them interrupt, and jump back in. So you really need to make sure you understand who you're talking to, right? All right, let's open this up. Let's get some questions on the floor for things that you've been wondering what you need to do a great listing presentation. Anybody have any questions? Quiet.
Veronica, this is Teresa. Hi. My question was about the scenario where she says, let's connect in a few weeks. And I like that you were like, okay, great, sounds good. Anything else that can be said? Any other
Absolutely.
suggestions? What do agents do in those
She's
moments?
saying in between the lines, I need to think about this. So she's either has a hidden agenda of, I didn't like the price and I didn't tell you, right? I'm interviewing other agents and I didn't tell you, or I'm not ready to make this life decision right now. I'm kind of freaked out and I don't want to tell you that. So it's some sort of an underlying emotion, or their disc profile, just that's how their disc profile works. If they're an ISC, SC, CS, any of those profiles, they cannot make a decision on the spot. It's not in their nature. So you have to be respectful. And I don't technically do the Mike Ferry style. I don't dig. I just want to know enough that I can confidently walk away and know I did my best job. So Parisa, I would just kind of close for the next appointment, right?
And what does that follow-up appointment look like, even if you're not in person? What if I'm following up by phone or text?
It really is. It's a phone call. Hi, checking in. Wanted to follow up on our conversation we had about the home and see if you made a decision about when you want to start marketing your home, on the market. So you're kind of doing another assumptive, right? Hi, Parisa. Good morning.
Yeah.
It's Veronica with Keller Williams Realty. How are you? Great.
I'm good, thanks.
Right. Wonderful. Just wanted to follow up on our listing appointment that we had a couple weeks ago and see if there are any questions I could answer for you, or if you've made a decision of when you're going to be putting your home on the market.
Yeah, you know what? It's just been a really busy few weeks. I had some things come up unexpected, so I haven't given it as much thought as I, imagined I would. I went through your material though after you left that day, so thank you for that. I still really think that we could ask for a little bit more. I really think that we can go a little bit higher in the asking price.
Okay, what were you thinking? What did you have in mind that you wanted to do?
I know you had said fair market that this property would be worth $650, but I really think $675 is not a terrible ask. We've given it a lot of love. We've added a lot of great things to the house.
Absolutely, and you certainly have. That home is absolutely beautiful. Well, you know what, Parisa, if you want to go on the market at $675, I will absolutely put all of our power of all the marketing behind that. I just wanted to give you a realistic view of what I think it would actually go into escrow for, but you never know. Maybe there's going to be a buyer that will come, at $675. We're certainly going to put all of our power, all of our marketing, all of our efforts to make sure we cast the widest net to get as many buyers as possible. So if you do want to list it at $675, let's do that.
Okay. And then I know you said that usually the first 2 weeks are the, peak thing of peak time for us to maximize on getting all the good attention. What happens if in a few days, your phone's not ringing and the first weekend we don't have some appointments lined up to see the house? Can we not wait it out those whole 2 weeks and maybe we discuss price then? Try it out for a week?
Absolutely. I'll be updating you every single week. So every single Monday, we will have a conversation. I'll give you a complete activity log of everything that happened, all of the marketing we've done, and all of the activity. And then if you decide that you want to make an adjustment early at that time, absolutely we can do that.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it. You want to come over this evening?
Wonderful. I come by. Are you available today or tomorrow?
Yeah, this evening. If it's not too late for you, I can do 6 p.m. this evening.
Great, wonderful. Well, I'll bring that revised listing agreement over tonight, and we'll get this thing started. All right?
Sounds great. Thanks.
Great. I'll see you tonight at 6. All right.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you, Parisa. You're so great with dialogue. I appreciate that. So you see, that was, she had an underlying thing. That's usually why they're not ready to go right then. If I say pull out your calendar, look in the future, and you don't want to look in the future, you have hesitation. So you have to be able to read people really well. And as long as you schedule that follow-up appointment and you close again, you're going to be great. Parisa, thank you for that fabulous, fabulous dialogue. I appreciate it. Do I have
Sure,
another
thank you.
question?
Yes, hi. Veronica, this is Christine.
Hi.
Hi. Some of the question might be, with this coronavirus going on, I'm not sure how the market's going to be. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable even with people wearing masks and coming in my house. And I'm concerned. I don't know where the market's going. So they're sort of on standstill. How do you deal with that?
Very good. There are definitely going to be some people that have that feeling and they're concerned and scared. I get that. So you would say, so if that's the reason they don't want to put it on the market, yet you went over there anyway to give them a price, you would say, I completely understand your concern, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. We have been taking incredible precautions from the California Association of Realtors, which provides our guidelines on how we show property. I will tell you that properties are selling at an extremely high rate right now. We're probably in the highest level of transactions we've seen in a long time. So buyers are out there buying, and it's a great time right now to get top dollar for your home. And we do use CDC guidelines and California Association of Realtor guidelines in practicing the most extreme caution in which showing the properties with disclosures. However, if you're not comfortable at this time, that's certainly your own decision. I am not going to push somebody who's got a concern about coronavirus into, having people come through their home because they've expressed the concern. So I would just be kind of helping them understand that we use precautions. Everyone has to sign disclosures acknowledging we limit who comes into the home. We're extremely, extremely strict about how we show homes, but we are selling more homes right now in Los Angeles County than we've seen in a long time. So there are a lot of buyers out there, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I'd hate to see you miss the opportunity, but it's your decision. That's how I do
Great.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Veronica.
Hi, Hamid.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Excuse me, if you have a meeting with the seller, and is that cool if you take somebody else with you? I mean, to back you up, for your first couple first meeting.
Of course, and you're in the mentor program. You're not allowed to go on a listing appointment by yourself. You have to go with your mentor, right? So if you guys are in the training program, those of you who are in it, you're not allowed to go by yourself. You have to take your mentor with you. You have to.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the listing unless you take them with you, right?
And,
so they know what they're doing. So please take your mentor with you.
And you were talking about being a professional. I mean, is that what do you mean exactly? How about that's a crazy question. How about the style, wearing clothes? And I mean, I had a buddy. He used to wearing jeans and put a major in the pocket and go like a professional. So looks like he was no majoring contractor, something like that. And
well, I mean, I don't want to cut you off there, but in terms of dress style, if you talk to any of our top agents, any of them, they're always dressed professionally when they go on an appointment, right? If you look at the top 10 agents in the whole valley, when they go on an appointment, they're suited up, right? Now, there are a lot of different areas where styles vary. If you sell in Malibu, you dress a little bit differently. The top agents in Malibu dress differently than the top agents in Redondo Beach. But in general, you always dress one level above your client, right? So you always want to make sure you look professional. I'm not going to tell you how to dress, but you should always have a jacket. Don't need a tie, but most of our top agents will wear a tie. If you look at Eric Delgado, Stephanie Vitaco, any of the big agents in this valley, they are always dressed appropriately when they go on an appointment. They always either have a suit and jacket You know, all of our wonderful top producers. We have so many top agents in this office, right? Top 3 agents in our whole region this year in 2019 who just won awards were Stephanie, Eric, and Andrew Dinsky. And I assure you, they all dress very professionally when they go on their listing appointments. They are great role models for all of you to look at in terms of, you know, how you conduct yourself, both from a professional standpoint and how you look. So my opinion is always dress one level above your client, if not more.
I have a statement on that, Veronica. I went to Long Beach and I was showing property, and one of the renters there, it was a condo. He let me in. It wasn't my client. And he goes, and I had on slacks. I had on flat Tory Burch, you know, shoes, and I had on a blouse. But of course, you know, we have our mask and everything on. And he goes, "You're a realtor? You don't look like one." And I said, "Oh, what is that supposed to mean?" He's like, "Well, you're not dressed like one." And I said, "Because I don't have the lashes and the heels and the bling." Exactly. He was expecting a really over the top look. And for him to just come out and say it, I thought it was really funny. I was like, okay. I said, "Well, I don't dress like that."
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a stereotype. All I want you all to do is to make sure you're not, I would never wear jeans to a listing appointment, frankly. But if that works for you, great. It's really, I have a guy that's a top agent that I used to coach at a large company, and his whole clientele are like guys that love the 1970s. So he has to go on his listing appointments dressed. He wears Hawaiian shirts, but he's dressing for a role to match his clientele. So there are different types of pop cultural styles that apply to certain individuals. I'm just saying that in a general sense, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably just be professional. A blouse and slacks, maybe a jacket as a female, or skirt and slacks as a male. Slacks and a jacket, don't need a tie, just a shirt, but at least try to have some level, you know, that looks like you're going to a professional place. That's just an opinion. You all can do whatever you wish in that. I just wanted to kind of make sure you kind of get some sense of professionalism. So both in the way you dress and the way you speak, right? All right. Any other questions before
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Veronica. It's Asia.
Hey, Asia.
I had a quick question on the amount of sold comps and active under contract comps you target to always bring on your listing appointment.
Great question. We actually talked about this briefly in session 2, but I want to go a little bit deeper into that. I believe you bring enough comps to prove the point. And let me explain what I mean by that. There is such a thing as too many, and there is such a thing as not enough, right? I think less than 3 is not enough, and more than 12 is probably too many. So on the solds, there are certain pockets of Los Angeles that have an enormous amount of comps, enormous. So whenever you have too many, let's say over 12 or 15, bring the square footage in tighter, right? Or bring the radius in tighter so that you have maybe 10. In south of the boulevard, you don't have that many. You'll be lucky if you get 6, okay, or 4. So it really depends on the pocket, because there are some pockets it's impossible to try to find enough, but less than 3 is, to me, a problem, because appraisers always have to use a minimum of 3 on the bank appraisal. So I wouldn't go less than 3. And I think more than 12 is too many on the solds. Pendings, I show them all if they prove my point, right? I like pendings. And I think that that if you have, you know, 3 pendings or 4 pendings, I'd show them all. And they tell a story, right? Based on how many days they're on the market. So pendings are great because they tell a real story that's going on right now. It was priced here and it sold in 2 days. It was priced here and it sold in 2 years, right? So I think that's really important to use as many pendings as are in that area. But comps, no more than 12, no less than 3. Anybody else have a comment about comps?
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. No one else has a comment about comps. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to throw out? We've got 10 minutes left.
A scenario that I'm seeing a lot is, you know, a preview appointment first, and then you come back and let them know price opinion. And a lot of the leads I'm coming across, they're not necessarily ready. They're just kind of curious. So then I kind of send them my second contact is an email or something with a CMA that says like a range. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, or if I should be getting in front of them a second time. I mean, it obviously depends on how serious they are, but I don't know, how would you handle the preview and then price opinion?
I love that. Are you doing cold calls or door knocking to get that first appointment to preview?
Cold calls, so I've never been in front.
Okay, so I have a feeling about this. It's pretty strong, but it's not necessarily the right way. It's my way. I believe that you have to get there twice, once to preview and once to go back and present. However, some people, it may not work out that way. So if I'm going to preview, I always tell them, if I can come and take a quick look at the inside of the home, I can give you an exact number. Great, when do you want to come over? Can I come over today? Sure. And I get over there to build rapport. So look, I'm doing the tour. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing that first 15 minutes of the listing appointment. I'm doing the tour and I'm building rapport, right? And then what I do when I'm getting ready, and when I door knocked, I did the same thing. Let me get inside, walk around the house, build rapport. And I would say, great, thank you so much for showing me your beautiful home. I know you're not ready for quite a long time, but I'd love to come by and bring you the package so that you can hold on to it for when the time comes. Is it okay if I stop back by tomorrow? Now they're either going to say, no, I'm too busy, I'm working. Great, then I'll just drop it off, right? Then you would then just drop it off, okay, on the doorstep or mail it. You also can send it digitally. I believe in all of the above, okay? Email it, mail it, drop it. I really try to close for a second time to go over there because I want to present it myself, even though they're not ready for a year. Because when you present in person, you have solidified the relationship. You can objection handle in advance. However, if they don't let you come back to drop it off, right? I would say, can I drop it back off tomorrow? I'd love to stop back by and drop it off to you. Are you going to be home? What time will you be home? I really will try to close for that second appointment and get in that living room again. So I can just quickly, I don't have to do a full-fledged, okay? But I will bring this and I will go through it quickly. I'll do like a short version of this. And then I will present the numbers and tell them to hold on to it. And if they have any questions, give you a call when the time is right, and they will hold on to it. If I just mail it or drop it, okay, that's fine. It just doesn't have as big a power as when I walk back into the living room for a second time. Anybody have any comment on that?
I actually have a follow-up on that. So I'm cold calling and I say, hey, we thought about selling it. And they're like, oh, if you give me 2 million, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Well, maybe let me put some comps together for you. I'll send you a document via email. What's the best email to reach you? And you take a look at it and I'll follow up and see what your opinion is. And you could see what's really happening in your area. That's not in person. That's just an email to get a close to get the email, and to sometimes they also just text it to me. Should I be pushing harder to like, show me your property in person?
Again, if this happens all the time with commercial agents, right? If you bring me X amount, I'll sell it, right? So I'm a big believer in go ahead and email it to them. That's fine. I'd love to just email you, what the comps are right now, the value at this point. I mail it to. That package they get in the mail is golden, okay? So I would mail it as well as email it and then have them call you and you guys can discuss it. Ideally, if they won't let you come over, then just mail it out to them, but don't forget, email has to be accompanied by hard copy, okay? A beautiful little package in your cute little envelope. I really believe strongly that if you don't send a hard copy, the email gets deleted 50% of the time. Between now and the time they're going to sell, that email is going to get deleted.
Instead of mailing it, can you just drop it off like you're door knocking?
Absolutely. Drop it off in a package on the doorstep. No problem. A lot of top agents do that. It's all nice in the envelope. It's all in the package. You say, I'll just drop you off a package. I'll email something to you and I'll drop you a package off. Absolutely. You can drop it off.
I call a lot of,
just don't put it in the mailbox.
I call a lot of non-owner occupied, so I don't always have their address.
You're not going to be able to do that. You will have to mail it. This package with the CMA together, it runs about $2 of postage to mail this, okay? First class, just so you know.
I agree about the email.
Mailing it. Hi, Sonia.
Hi. I agree about the email. They tell you, oh, just email me. and then you call back a week later and they say they never got your email.
Yeah, because they deleted it. It's gone to junk. So I believe so strongly they will not throw the package away. I promise you, they will not throw the package away if you mail it to them or drop it on the doorstep. It looks too good. It's too professional looking. They're not going to throw it in the trash. It's highly unlikely. They're going to put it away somewhere. They might lose where they put it, but they're going to go put it away somewhere. That I assure you. That I assure you. Thank you, Sonia, for that comment.
I agree. They'll keep it, especially because it's about their home, and they'll keep it.
Yep. They will hold on to it, just like people hold on to brochures from when they sold their homes, right?
Right. They'll
People
keep
their
it.
flyers. They like that memory. So they will keep
They
it.
do. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I want to wrap up with today is 3 things. Number one.
Can I ask a question before you do?
Yes, Harry.
So when you were having the dialogue with Parisa, you mentioned that you will follow up every Monday with a log, like what happened during the week, the previous week. So how do you build that log? Do we find it somewhere? You know,
In your documents, there's an MREA checklist. You can make your own checklist. It's really simple. Again, you're not going to have to worry too much about it when you only have one listing at a time. It's when you have multiples going that you have to keep it. You can make a Word doc with a log. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. You can put it in Command. Command has an entire area under opportunities. If you guys haven't been on Zach's Command classes, you need to. The opportunities section has just launched, and we're going to be going live in September, where all of your opportunities are going to drive into your commission CDAs. So it is so neat in Command. You can upload all your documents into the listing. You put the person's name, you add it as a new listing. You can put everything in there. Keeps it all in one place forever. You don't have to keep it in a variety of places. So you can create your own. You can upload it into Command. It doesn't really matter as long as you just keep a record of your conversation. If you guys remember, in Command, you can add your notes every time to that client, right? And just be able to put the conversation into the notes and it saves it. It's really nice. Very easy and simple, no paper. Okay. All right. So 3 things.
Veronica, I was just going to make a comment. Harry. Oh, go ahead. No worries.
Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, all I was just going to say is what I've done sometimes is just go onto my Superbox activity from showings, and then I copy and paste it into a document along with anything I can come up with on the social media or the websites like the Zillows of the world that say how many views there are. So I might do something like that as a little weekly report just from Superbox activity.
Lovely. That's a great idea. You can get the Superbox activity, the sign calls, the social media responses. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And the views from like all those various.
Yeah,
Okay.
get the listing first and then we'll help you with that, okay?
Right.
Get the listing first. The semantics will come together. Today, you know, we focus on, this series was about going and getting the listing. This series was about getting into as many living rooms as you can to build that pipeline. That's what this series was about. Once you get the listing, there's 100 people here who can help you, right? You know, the whole staff is here to help you. Myself, Dan, Demetra, everyone, your mentors. We have so many people here to help you when you need things. You all know that you can call me 24/7. You can call Dan 24/7. We answer the phones late at night, early in the morning, weekends. Those of you who call us know that we will give you the answer every single time. So I want you to focus on building your listing presentation, memorizing it. Go do a test CMA, put it together, memorize your flow until you've got it. Scripts are critical, and the best agents practice their scripts until they become so internalized they never have to look again. That's number 1. Make sure your collateral material is in order. Invest in a box of envelopes, right? And go get some Avery labels so you can put your little return address with your logo on there. Invest in your small amount of collateral material that's required to be successful as a listing agent. Invest in yourself. Invest in your ability to perform the listing presentation. Understand how to be confident in your comps. If you need help, show your comps to someone. We'll run them by you. I work with people all the time who are going on appointments. They'll email me the comps and ask my opinion on that 3-point. I'll be happy to help you, and so will your mentor, so will Dan. We're all here for you. I want to make sure that you go out and get your fair share of business because there is a lot of business coming. And we are busy right now, but we're going to get busier. The next 2 years is the most unique time in our industry. There is going to be an avalanche of wonderful listings coming on the market, and I want every one of you to go get yours. All right. All right. So I'm really excited to have shared this presentation with all of you. Remember, we're going to record this. Everything will be up on the YouTube channel. We begin again on August 13th with Quantum Leap Mindset Matters. All right. If there's not any other questions, I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Veronica.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Veronica.
Thank you so
So
much.
fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.